Getting better all the time. The Pulse Hospital Radio.
Okay, welcome back to Tea Time with me, Julian Lipton, and also Ian Bateman, who's joining me in the studio today as well. Ian, hi, how are you?
Nice to see you.
Rare for you to come in onto the show.
I know, it is very rare. I'm a Saturday morning guy.
Yeah, right, okay. We will welcome anyway. Now, okay, over the past few weeks, you would notice the hospital getting a bit more festive. Decorations up in the ward, the Christmas tree is outside the restaurant, and some of you may have noticed also a familiar face around the buildings. Now, my guest today is most known for getting the nation singing and putting choirs well and truly on the map. I am delighted to welcome to the studio multi-award winning choir master extraordinaire, Gareth Malone.
Hello. You'll put applause on afterwards, right?
Yeah, well, we can kind of do that now. Yes.
Just Steve Wright.
Here I am.
Gareth, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I've got to go straight in. Now, a few weeks ago, you were on Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
But now you're in a 1970s studio up on the 7th floor of Watford General Hospital. Well, that's a question. You preempted it straight away.
This is better. No. I Strictly was fun. Really fun.
Was it? Okay.
Well, it was quite nice for me because when I've been, as you know, I've been in the hospital now for like 2 months or something, chipping away and creating what we're going to talk about.
Yep.
And I think on about the second day, I was on the Gareths ward, which is a ward for an elderly gentleman. I was in a room with a lot of old guys, and this old guy said to me, "Oh, I used to love your programme."
Right.
Oh, as if I'd somehow died or gone away. But no, it was quite nice to do Strictly because everyone's going, "Oh, you've done Strictly. You're obviously still real." So that's
yeah, and actually, talking about Strictly, does that mean that you could maybe be making an appearance on Strictly as well?
Listen,
I mean, is it
neither confirmed nor denied. No, I'm not mad keen on the idea of. I have an actual job.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to stick to that.
Right. Okay. So, all seriousness, what brings you to Watford?
So I have been invited by your chief exec to come to Watford and give you a boost that you so need at this time of year. I mean, as everyone has told me, as winter hits hard, more flu, more sort of respiratory problems, people tripping over on the ice, all of those things. It gets very, very intense in A&E and well, just across the board.
Yeah.
Everyone, they have to open extra capacity. Everyone's working flat out, and with infection control now, where you have to be very careful about what you bring onto the wards. And there are fewer Christmas decorations, and there's been a general sense when I walked around and met the staff and talked to people on the wards that Christmas has somehow been a bit dampened down in the hospital. So I've been brought in as Mr. Christmas to sort of zhuzh up the Watford General Hospital Christmas offering. And so we've got people from right across the trust. I forget the full name. The Hearts. You'll know.
Yeah, you're going to ask me, put me on the spot, and I can't remember the full name myself.
The acronym. Yeah. Well, I don't know. But
West Hertfordshire Hospitals Trust.
There we go.
Yeah.
So from right across the trust, people have come together to sing and to make a Christmas concert that is happening tonight.
Now, how does that work? Because you're literally taking people out of all of the. These aren't necessarily singers. It could be anyone.
Well, you'll have to watch the documentary.
Oh, okay. Right.
How does it work? Well, I like anyone who's seen my work before. I like to sort of tell stories. Really, television is a storytelling medium. So yes, it's about music, but it's also about people's lives and why these extraordinary people do these extraordinary jobs. So it's working with the staff in lots of different wards and in very emotional places like the neonatal ward and the children's ward and elderly care as well. All of those are sort of rich with story and life and all the stuff that I think makes great television, but also makes great music. So I've tried to tie together a selection of songs that tell stories, human stories about both the staff and the patients. I mean,
you've been here on site for a few weeks now. I mean, what have you experienced in the hospital in general?
Just a sort of there's an underlying sense of everyone working at capacity.
Yeah.
That is without question. Everybody talks about it. Nobody looks relaxed. So I think that's very tough. And I feel like there isn't that space within the hospital to give staff the time. There's you go into an investment bank or something, they've probably got a squash court downstairs. And,
right, yeah,
there's none of that. It's everyone sort of comes in, does their job, works as hard as they can, and then just goes home absolutely
There are some vending machines.
There's a vending machine, you're right. I've used that.
The coffee's not too bad.
The coffee, well... Let me try it.
Oh, you've actually got it. Yeah,
it's delicious. So I've seen that, but then you also, on the flip side of that, is people who just care so passionately about their jobs. And we know this about the NHS, but I think when you're, I went and did a Friday night on A&E till about 1 a.m. or something, and you're just seeing these people sort of just taking care of people in all sorts of states, on the receiving end of all sorts of abuse or sickness or all sorts of things are going on, and yet you see this just sort of endless care that's going out, and I think that's very inspiring. And I think it does take something extraordinary to work in the medical profession. You do need, you need to make a sort of an extraordinary commitment, but they are just ordinary people as well. They go home, they've got families, and so I wanted to do something that was for the staff.
And you mentioned A&E. I mean, it's incredible because we liaise with the A&E staff all the time. They're under enormous pressure. A lot of people there, long waiting lists, which is nothing to do with them. It's just the way it is. And yet they're keeping cool and they're looking after a lot of people. I mean, it's extraordinary work that goes on.
It is amazing. I think going backstage in a hospital has really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
I've had my experiences in hospitals where you'll wait. Somebody's fallen over and you're waiting to see the doctor, and you have a very different perspective when you're on the other side and you're seeing all these cases come into the consultant. You've got the consultant in the middle, and it's absolutely non-stop. And it's so bizarre that as a patient, very often you have the impression that nothing is going on, and you've been there for hours and everyone's forgotten about you. But you go into the bed meetings and you go into the this consultant area, and you see just how it's this sort of, how many patients are coming through the door every day, how much kind of flow, the traffic flow through this place is unreal. I went to a bed meeting very early on and saw they've got this screen that the public don't necessarily see, screen with how many ambulances are coming in, how many people are discharged, and it's just sort of constant effort to keep the flow going. And I thought that was really, really fascinating, because you don't. I think as an individual or as a family member, you obviously care about the person you're with or yourself, and it was very. It's been a real eye opener to see it from the other perspective.
What's the one thing that you hope to achieve from this concert here then?
I just hope to make everyone feel a bit Christmassy.
Okay, right. Which is a great thing. Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah, and there's a question about what that means as well in 2019, and there's lots of people who don't celebrate Christmas here, and yet it is such a part of our culture here in this country and our society. I wanted to find a way that felt like right and appropriate for this hospital now. So it's not entirely traditional Christmas music. But I just wanted to give. It's actually more about celebrating the people that work here and picking up on themes from the Christmas story. So we've obviously explored new life. And we've got a little nod within the concert to things like the Three Wise Men, and it's very subtle. It's not sort of. It's not like ceremony of nine carols and from Kings. It's not that.
But also, religious connotations aside, it's a family time, isn't it? It's a time where people get together, and it's just an opportunity to smile and be together as one, really.
Yeah, and I think that's a basic sort of a basic need. I just did a program for BBC One, which I think by the time this goes out, will have aired actually on the 22nd. Yeah. So is this what day is it now?
I think it's 7th. I will.
Right. Well, today.
Can't even
7th,
remember. Yeah.
Whenever you play this interview out, so I've done a program for BBC One about the history of Christmas. It's going out on the 15th and the 22nd. Be on the iPlayer. And it was fascinating to go back to Roman sites and see how the Romans celebrated winter festivals that involved candles and the giving of gifts long before Christianity, and so there's always, I think there's just that need, isn't there, for we all work hard, well so did they, everyone works and everyone needs rest time, and that's sort of unchanged through the millennia.
Now, some of our listeners have sent in some questions for you, but actually before that, can we just go back? We mentioned 2019. Can we just literally take ourselves back to 2007 when it all started with the choir? 2005.
Yeah, really,
I mean,
a long time.
How did that even come about?
Crazy. I was in the shower. And,
okay, right. So,
would you sing?
But I do that every morning.
In the shower?
Probably. I mean, usually, yeah.
I do that every morning. Nothing ever happens to me.
I'm sorry, well,
I don't get it.
I went into the shower, and then when I came out, there was an answer phone message, and it said, we've had a call from. It was the London Symphony Orchestra, who I worked for at the time. We've had a call from a TV production company. Would you be interested in making a television documentary, and I grabbed the phone immediately. Actually, I think I looked them up, and I saw that they'd made some reputable documentaries, sort of educational documentaries, like Brat Camp. I don't know if you remember.
Right, okay. Yep.
Really fantastic documentary. They made Bad Lads Army.
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
And I thought, that looks like a good company. And I got talking to the lovely lady who came up with the idea, and we hit it off. And here I am, 14 years later.
And I mean, I suppose I've got to ask a question: what's it like to now be a celebrity?
I hesitate only because I have said in the past, now and again it's a bit tricky in the supermarket. You're trying to buy your cheese and somebody's talking to you about their choir. But that's
Can you listen to me sing, please, Gareth? Yeah,
there's
that
a bit
type
of
thing. Yeah,
but it does. I think it comes off as whinging, and it really is fine. I think you have to accept that when you go in the public eye, you're going to get people. I mean, I just in the lift on the way up here, I was chatting to a lady who was looking forward to it, and it's so nice because those people are the people that are watching at home, and they want. If they see you, they want to connect with you. It is quite strange because nothing prepares you for the volume of it, because one person's interaction with you, they're like, oh, hello, there's Gareth Malone.
Right, okay.
But they don't know that you go round the corner and somebody else does it.
Hello, this is Gareth Malone.
Oh, it's Gareth.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it can be a little bit like Groundhog Day, but it goes with the job, and it's mostly really nice. I can always put on a hat.
See,
dark glasses.
Dark glasses and a hat.
You've mentioned over the last 14 years, there's been a lot of things that you've done. You've met many famous people. You've had the military Wives Invictus. Any highlights that particularly spring out that if you look back and say, wow?
Well, I mean, they all have
apart from this interview, of course.
Sorry. Right now.
Yeah, sorry.
This is at the top, surely.
Well, this hospital has been very, very moving. It's been fantastic. And I think I am drawn to the richer end of human experience in my work. I've always liked things that make you cry or make you feel something or make you laugh. I like that sort of emotional work. So obviously, Military Wives and Invictus that you mentioned were high up there. Earlier this year, we broadcast a show that I made last year, which was set at the school next to Grenfell, and that was incredible, working with young kids who were grieving and trying to work that through, and using music as a tool to help them and give them a form of expression was absolutely wonderful, and something that the school became rather nervous about, the idea of, is it okay to sing a sad song under these conditions, and can we allow this sort of space? And of course the answer was yes. Because it's never wrong to sing a song. It's never wrong to cry as well. And you must see this around the hospital all the time. There's always people in an emotional state here, and I think music has such a great role to play in alleviating the sharpness of that pain. I think I don't think it can ever take it away. I've certainly, in my own life, I've seen. At funerals, or I've performed at funerals, and it's like a balm. It just makes things. It just takes the edge off it. So I suppose those are the things that stand out in my mind. Those kind of really emotional moments.
No, I was going to go into the readers, the listeners' questions, but actually I just want to touch on that because we were going to end on this, but you kind of led me into it in a way, and that is your new album, Music for Healing.
Thank you very much.
And I think this is sort of kind of connected to what you've just been talking about. How did that project come about?
Well, it came about before I knew I was coming to a hospital, actually. So
okay.
It's just, I suppose there is that vein in my work over the last few years. I had a difficult year last year. This is 2018. My grandfather died in the middle of filming at Grenfell, which was, that was a lot. And my wife was pregnant, but we were in the first trimester, so we hadn't told anyone. So you're going through, you're waiting for all the scans, and there's that kind of grinding tension. You're nodding, that grinding tension. So it was just a very hard year. Got through all that. Then we had my daughter, Devora, number 3, and so things started to look up, and I had this time at home. I took some time out in January, February, March, that sort of time, and I just sat at the piano and wrote some music. I suppose it started off for myself and for my wife, just to kind of put myself back together a bit, and the piano is always where I've gone for that kind of solace. And then I took it to the label and said, I've got this idea, an album of healing music, and it's now, as we stand, it's been at number 1 in the specialist classical charts for 4 weeks.
I have to have listened to
Amazing.
it. It's really quite beautiful. There's some lovely tracks. In fact, June I was listening to this morning because it's done into different months of the year.
That's right, yeah.
And it's really interesting. And there's a lot of talk at the moment about mental health and the just generally people needing to look into themselves more. And this music is, I suppose, really the question is whether the music has more of a role to play in mental health or just in the community in general in terms of the healing powers that it may have.
I think so. And you've been in the choir for
I was
4 or 5 weeks.
I was just going to declare that, and I was very nervous about going in, by the way.
Were you?
And my wife has this statement. She says, "Well, feel the fear and do it anyway."
Yeah, totally.
So I thought I'd do it, and it's been remarkable.
It just is a very powerful thing to do, and especially as you build towards an event and the camaraderie that you feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know how many of them, and probably in your position in working in hospital already, you know lots of people in the hospital, but I think there were many people who didn't know the other singers because there's 5,000 people working here at the hospital, so nobody would know each other. But you see the team come together, and there's definitely people within the choir, and I think the documentary will bear this out, that have just found a little more. Well, it's hard to define what it is. It's a sort of feeling of belonging somewhere.
Yeah. So for me, it's been the teamwork. It's been having to listen because that's what's part of it is working together. The whole musicality, but also in the moment, in that. It's difficult to explain. In that physical moment of singing, everything else kind of disappears.
Away. I totally agree.
And it's hard to put your finger on what that really means and is.
I found that then that can become a sort of vessel to carry whatever weight you're holding. That's certainly the case with Invictus and Military Wives in particular. I used to say that I was like, let the feelings pass through you into the music, which sounds very sort of new age. But actually, as musicians, that's what we do all the time. You're playing notes, but you're not playing notes. You're having a conversation. You're putting, you're imagining. You're communicating something that can't be communicated through language. And I think that's very, very important.
It's a wonderful thing. Gareth, can we rattle off a few questions that we've been asked by our listeners? Here we go. What does a Gareth Malone Christmas Day look like?
It looks like a lot of goose, actually. There's no turkey involved.
Right, okay.
I like to cook, so I normally get up and I have an ongoing debate with my wife about when the presents should be opened, because my parents used to make me wait.
So did mine.
Really long time. So it's sort of real kind of middle class values of like just waiting, it being a good thing,
right.
Which is of course nonsense. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you let them open one thing on Christmas Eve?
Actually, we do.
Oh, do you do? Oh, that's a new thing. So we never had that at all.
Right. Sometimes you have to just to kick things off.
Yeah, something rubbish. Yeah.
Favourite Christmas movie?
Favourite Christmas movie? Ooh.
And what are you thinking about that favourite Christmas song?
Or one or
the other?
Maybe Home Alone.
Everyone loves Home Alone.
I think Home Alone. I've not watched it in a really long time, but I think
great film.
I think maybe my kids are ready for it. Although it's a bit scary, isn't it? Because the
people that break into
your house, and my son's already worried about burglars. Okay, favourite Christmas song. Are we talking sort of of the pantheon of Slade and all of that?
Do whatever you like.
I do. I'd probably go sort of 50s, one of the big eras, like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas or something like that. That gets me a little misty-eyed.
Maybe we'll hear one of your favourite songs in the performance, possibly.
You may well do.
Who knows? What advice would you give yourself, your 15-year-old self?
Oh, specialise.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I think just knuckle down, get on with 2 more practice.
What's one talent that you wish you had?
Oh, I do wish that I were a better pianist.
Okay.
But I think everyone does. Every musician wishes that I wish I could play the violin as well, or the cello, a string instrument like that. It's just such a beautiful thing, and I never studied that. So.
Do you know what? Having been in the choir, you're pretty good.
Well, you're kind. I'm only pretty good, but I think there's always. That's a great thing about music. You never stop learning, so I will carry on practicing.
Last question, which is probably the most important. Go-to karaoke song.
Oh,
now before you answer, your credibility might dive depending on this.
I mean, what is credible about karaoke? I particularly enjoy Aha, Take On Me.
Oh, really? Okay.
Can you get to the high notes though?
No, I used to.
It's a struggle.
Age has
Do
taken
you know what?
them away
Actually,
from me.
thinking about it, you have got a kind of Morton Harkett type.
I'll take that.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I'll take that.
Okay, when can we see this documentary? When's it going to be out?
So it's going out Christmas Eve.
Wow. Okay. At
I think 9 o'clock on BBC Two.
On BBC Two. And
it's the premiere slot. It's the best slot of the year. So I'm very, very excited that the channel are that sort of into what we've done here at Watford.
And it's going to be repeated actually on Christmas Day, I think, as well.
It's just unbelievable.
It's just and on BBC Player possibly forever. Who knows?
Who knows? I'd like to do this every year.
Well, you're welcome back.
Thanks.
Maybe
not here.
No, maybe not. Okay, Gareth, wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And, of course, a healthy 2020 as well. It's been a pleasure having you here. And thanks for bringing joy to the staff and patients and everyone at Watford General Hospital.
It's been my great pleasure.
Gareth Malone, everyone.
Thank you. Put claps in now, yeah?
Yeah, we'll do that now, yeah.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.